Alright, I have big plans for today's episode. Today we are going to finish our little homestead back at my base. Before we can complete that, I have come to the jungle because there is a certain item I need that, surprisingly, I have never found or collected in this world. Let's see if we can find it, and here it is already. Melons. I've not collected a single melon in this world the whole time. I was honestly surprised I couldn't find this in my storage room, but I gotta come out here to get some. Okay, that should be enough. Let's get back to base, and then we'll talk about the plans. I decided to bring a friend back with me from the jungle since I was there, so I got my first parrot as well. But here we are back at the homestead. From these things we built the last few episodes, the house, the chicken coop, and then this barn. This area has really been coming together nicely with all of these. But today I want to focus on some of the exterior stuff, like this area here, and then this area around this tree right here. I'd like to create the gardens for this homestead. So starting right here, I have in mind to build a little greenhouse there, and then some gardens, some raised beds, some crops here. And then over here, I have some stuff already planned out, a few other smaller things. We'll work that out later. First, I'm gonna pay attention to this area, and then we'll get the plants in here, and then, yeah, I'll walk you guys through it as we go through it. But for the start, I have the materials here to transform this area. So we're going to start with building the greenhouse, and then laying out the garden beds, and then I'll explain to you what plants are going where. Some of them I've kind of had to stretch a little bit to make it work in Minecraft, but we will see how it goes as it comes. So, start off with, let's just jump into a little time lapse of transforming this area. All right, we have the garden area kind of laid out where we're going to put the crops and everything. You can see the dirt, and then the path in between with the mud, and the leaf litter is kind of like mulch in between all these beds. We have, I think, yeah, there's 8 raised beds here, and these ones here, you'll see I'm going to put some taller plants like some small drip leaf, large fern here, and these are kind of supposed to act as like supports for whatever type of plant it is. And then here we have our little greenhouse. It's pretty simple. It is hard to do greenhouses in Minecraft, but I think I did okay with this one. Inside, we just have some simple lighting and then some areas to grow some plants, which I will plant in just a minute. And then here are our compost bins. I know they do look pretty similar to the raised beds with the shelves, but I tried to do something with the rooted dirt, some podzol, and then leaf cover on top of it, just to kind of show the different type of plants and stuff I put in here to compost. That's the idea anyway. But yeah, this is it all laid out. Let's start getting some plants on here. One of the first plants I want to do is right here, which will need some fence posts here. And these are supposed to act as supports for a type of plant that does not exist in Minecraft, but we will have to stretch our imagination just a little bit. I'm going to use rose bushes. The intent is that these are supposed to be tomato plants, which do not exist in Minecraft. But, I mean, it's got the red circular flowers. They're supposed to be roses, but I think we can stretch it a little bit and say this is a tomato plant, and then these are supposed to be like the supports for the tomato plant. And then I'll mix in some large ferns as well in there for parts of the tomato plant that maybe don't have as many tomatoes, or they've been picked off or something. So I'm gonna surround these posts with rose bushes and ferns for tomato plants. And then over on these 2 beds right here, we are going to put these bushes, which, by the way, it's just a vanilla 2 weeks texture pack that makes these bushes 3D. I've been trying it out. I'm still not fully sure how I feel about it, but for now, this is how it looks. Now these, especially with the square look, I can easily see these being like some kind of cabbage or even lettuce. That is my intent with this. This is supposed to be some kind of lettuce or something, or it's supposed to represent that. You guys can use your imagination for that. And then over on these 2 beds right here, I'm just going to plant carrots, which we do have in the game, so I don't have to come up with anything imaginative for that. And then on these 2 beds going this way will be all beetroots, or in my thinking, I think the beetroot plant can kind of look like strawberry plants with the red underneath being the strawberries. So you can picture it either way if you want. And then on this section right here is where we needed the melon and pumpkin plants. This will be our little mini melon, watermelon and pumpkin patch area here. I'll fill in the rest of this later. I'm just trying to show you guys. And then on these two raised beds right here, we are going to put potatoes. Then on this, like, I guess you could call it like a trellis or something, we're going to have these ferns, and this acts as a support. This could be some type of vine, like a grapevine, or like, think other plants that kind of grow that need supports, like pea plants, or even like some type of squashes I know need some kind of support, or like it helps them. So it's any of those type of plants. And then over here, similar kind of thing, supposed to be maybe just a different variety of plant that needs that support. We're just going to use small drip leaf for that. And then over here, this will just be a simple flower garden right here. So I'm going to finish planting all these plants, and then we'll see it all fully complete. All right, I've planted all the plants in, and we have all of our tomato plants, rose bushes, our cabbage or our lettuce, carrots, our, I guess it doesn't look that much like strawberries when it's fully grown. The other thing I think it could be is like rhubarb, maybe, or pumpkins and melons, potatoes, all our other plants and flowers. I put some plants inside the greenhouse. Just some more like lettuce or cabbage, some more beetroot, and some more carrots. Stuff that can be grown inside here, even if it's winter outside. So overall, I'm really pleased with how this garden's come together, even with these little lights throughout it. I think it looks really nice. I think the last thing we have to do in this area before we turn our attention to this spot right here is build a few trees back there. I want to build some more of our aspens, these white ones right here. We built aspen grove there a few episodes ago, but I want to use some of the same tree design, just create another little patch of aspens right there behind that greenhouse. I think it'll just look like a nice backdrop against here. Eventually this whole hill will be populated with more of these fir trees, and then maybe some more patches of aspen mixed in. I think that will look really nice when it's completed. But let's just jump right into making those trees. All right, I think this is looking pretty good now with those trees. Again, these trees, like in real life, aspens, their root system is all interconnected, so all the trees are interdependent on each other. They're like one organism together. So you would not find just one solitary tree by itself, so they have to be grouped together. But I quite like this. Eventually we'll have to maybe do some terraforming terrain underneath them to make it look a little nicer, but I'm not going to worry about that today. The last thing we need to do today before we can call our garden area and our homestead area basically complete is this area under this tree, and then back here I have some plans for it. Here I want to build like a little fire pit here, have some berry bushes, beehives, and I was thinking even under this tree I have some logs here that are growing mushrooms, like I'm farming mushrooms from some old logs. I think that would be really cool. So I'll work on this area. Well, I'll sleep first, then work on this area, and then I'll show you guys around it. All right, here it is. We've got our pathway leading right here to a nice cozy fire pit where we have our little chairs around it. This just makes me think of nights outside in the summer, roasting marshmallows or hot dogs, which we don't have in Minecraft, but that's kind of the feeling I'm trying to get across with this. And then over here is where you'd keep the wood for the campfire. There's this little cover here just to keep the wood dry. And I like how I did it with the logs and then the put out campfire stacked on top of it. It does look like a pile of wood, except for maybe the ashes underneath. I know there are texture packs that you can remove them. I might do that, but I still think it looks pretty good with the logs stacked there. Over here we have our little tiny mushroom farm. It's not an actual functional farm for Minecraft, but it just looks like it with these old logs growing mushrooms out of it. And then we have our beehives with a bunch of flowers, a bunch of alliums around. And then back here we have our berry bushes. You can just come and pick berries and eat them however you want. So now we can see our homestead as we approach it from this direction. It looks much fuller now than it used to. As we come, we can see this whole area, the barn, the chicken coop, these fruit trees, the house, that greenhouse, all the trees, the whole garden here. So I think over these last, 4 episodes, this area has developed so much, and I'm really pleased with it. So I think for now, I'm happy to call this area done, and in the next episode, we'll probably move on to something else. There are still some areas we could complete, but I think that'll be good for now. And that is all I have time for today's episode. I know this one may be a shorter one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this garden, the outside environment I was trying to create in this episode. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.